Good morning, everybody. Dear Governor, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Dimitri Piros, and I'm the chair of the European Emergency Number Association Advisory Board. On behalf of the entire EENA team, I would like to wish each and every one of you a very warm welcome to our EENA Conference and the 112 Awards ceremony for 2014 here in this historic city of Warsaw. This year I'm delighted to say that we have the biggest conference and 112 Awards ever, with more delegates, more sponsors, and more countries represented, and of course more awardee nominations than ever before. This year we will welcome 430 delegates to our 3-day conference. So clearly I think that EENA is doing something right. Our attendees do not come only from all over Europe. They come further afield, and at this time I would like to offer a special warm welcome to the delegates outside Europe. We greatly appreciate the time you have taken to travel here and for the new perspective which you will share with us. Let me start by some safety and housekeeping information. Firstly, please make sure that your mobiles are on silent. This will help all of us hear the presenters. The hotel management has informed us that there are no planned fire drills. So if you hear the alarm, it is not a drill. And make note of the exits marked in green. Please follow the instructions of the hotel staff as well. If you need to dial 112 from the hotel, you have to dial a 9 first. You don't need to do that from your mobile phone, clearly. We do have Wi-Fi here, and there are instructions over there on the wall of how to use username and password. This year, we're introducing a few new innovations, like the Events app, and I invite all of you to make sure that you download it on your iPad or on your mobile phone. And I made sure I had an Android here, so you can actually access the Event app from iOS as well as Android. Also, please take note in your booklets of the Ventor track. The Ventor track room is on the other side of this floor, where you can hear interesting presentation. And of course, as all EENA events, this is all about networking. For EENA, innovation and quality are extremely important, and we trust these changes will go forward these objectives. Let me now give the floor to Mr. Jacek Kozłowski from Mazowieckie province, and he's the governor of Mazowieckie province, and Mazowieckie province, as you know, includes Warsaw. Governor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to welcome you in Warsaw in behalf of Polish Minister of Administration and Digitalization, which is responsible for implementing of 112 number system in Poland. And it is great pleasure for me to share my opening remarks today with so many international experts that have gathered here for 3 days to discuss 112 number issues. Thank you to European Emergency Number Association for organizing this great event here in Warsaw, event that allows its participants to meet other people dealing with the same areas, often having the same problems or concerns. Improving public safety is one of the most important tasks of every government. As a governor, I am responsible, first of all, for public safety in the broad sense of those words. 112 as a system that can be used by every citizen when someone's life is in danger is one of the priorities of Polish governors. 2013 was the most important year for Polish emergency call system. We can finally, in November, from the November of last year, we can finally say that 112 calls are being answered in the same way all over Poland. 17 public safety answering points are responsible presently for answering the phone calls, qualifying them, and then passing to rescue services. There is one general procedure of answering calls, one detailed catalogue of questions to be asked, and one procedure of passing the information on accident to dispatchers. We have also introduced a new law on emergency call system so we can prepare to answering other emergency numbers like police, fire service in the same way than in PSAPs. I am convinced that the most important role for any 112 system is to allow any person in emergency situation to successfully reach professional assistance on the other side of the phone. We are constantly working on reducing time needed to answer the emergency phone. Now average in Poland is less than 10 seconds. We are also improving the technical infrastructure that helps to determine the caller location. 112 promotion activities are focused on raising public awareness on what the number is for and how to pass information when calling in case of emergency situation. As a Mazowieckie province governor, I am responsible for 2 PSAPs. Because the specific of the region, because general rule in Poland is that one of PSAP is located in one region. Mazowiecki region is a specific region. We have two call centers. One located in Warsaw as a municipal center for metropolitan area of Polish capital, and you will have opportunity to visit this center located in the broader building designed for all public safety systems. And second one in Radom, serving for the whole region. Mazovia region is the biggest region in Poland, one of the 17 regions. We are sometimes comparing ourselves with Denmark because the same size and the same population, not the same level of GDP per capita, but I am sometimes speaking that is only question of time because we are very ambitious and it is most dynamic of the Polish regions. We have 20% of Polish population, but we have producing 22% of gross domestic product here in this region, especially around of Warsaw. I hope that you find this visit very interesting as an opportunity to professional discussion, but also very interesting because Warsaw is the city with the great history and very dynamic presence. I hope that that the stay in Warsaw will be opportunity for you to fruitful discussion, but we will find also time for small sightseeing here in the city of Warsaw. You are located in the center of the city, and from this hotel it is not far to most interesting points in our city. I wish you the fruitful conference and a pleasant stay in Warsaw. And see you, because I have many duties today, I will join you again at the dinner tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor. Events like the EENA Conference are special occasions, and there is a special event, very special event gathering many experts together in one place from all over Europe, and as I mentioned earlier, from other parts of the globe. The conference is the occasion when we reflect on the issues that affect our work and share our experiences, our success, and even some of our failures, and we share them openly and freely. Remember, networking. But of course, this is your conference. You will make it a success by getting involved, reaching out to the speakers, questioning them, visiting the sponsor stands, and of course by enjoying the wonderful hotel facilities, and also, as the governor said, enjoy Warsaw. But do remember that we're working here, so don't enjoy them too much, please. In the past year, we have seen and heard about tragedies that could have been either avoided or at least their impact could have been lessened with caller location information. I do hope that we can hear some positive things about this topic in the coming days. We also hear interesting discussions such about the power of data, forecasting, planning, the control room design, structure protocols, the cloud, and a plenary session of presentations from a number of countries. And of course, many, many other topics. There are also a lot of EENA members who support the event through their generous sponsorship. Of course, we recognize their wise decision in deciding to sponsor this event. Thank you. And we are very grateful for the continuing support of what EENA is striving to achieve. I would like to mention them namely, and I'll start with our gold sponsors: Avaya, Ericsson, Esri, Citigis, Intrado, Motorola Solutions, and OnStar. Our silver sponsors: Airbus, Defense and Space, Barco, Beta 80 Group, Carmenta, Conveyed, Devryware, Frequentis, Intergraph, Mobilaris, NT Service, Optima, Saab, and Waytech. These organizations have stands or showrooms in the main area outside, and I would encourage you to take the time to visit them, see and hear about the products and what they have to offer. We also have exhibition stands from some EU projects like ARIEM 112, EasyNet, and Gerion. Also, for the first time, we have an exhibition from a public authority, 112 Georgia. I'm happy to invite them as well. Please take the time to visit these stands also. For the visits of the 112 Emergency Call Center of Warsaw tomorrow and on Friday, please bear in mind that you will need to register in advance from 1 p.m. this afternoon, and only from 1 p.m. at the registration desk where you got your badge this morning. Only those who are registered in advance will be accepted by the PSAP security staff. The meeting point for the visits is at the EENA banner in the hotel reception area on the ground floor. So please, if you want to visit, please register after 1 p.m. We also have introduced a new initiative, as I mentioned, the Venture Track, which allows our member companies to invite you to their presentation on their product or service offering. These presentations will take place during the coffee and lunch breaks over the coming 3 days, and I hope you can support this initiative by visiting and listening to the presentations. Speaking of coffee and lunch, All of the conference catering this week will be provided by EENA and will be located in the exhibition area. So you can actually have lunch, have coffee, and also visit the stands. I also invite you to contribute to the conversation on Twitter. And please remember to use the hashtag EENA 2014. Last year we had an excellent Twitter event on top of the conference. We hope we can do that this year as well. Finally, I want to remind you about the event app. The event app is here to become the networking tool for this conference. Please make sure you use the event app. You will find everything in there, all the participants' profiles, the possibility to send each other messages and request meetings, the conference program, information about program modifications. You will have a description of the floor plans and of each sponsor and exhibitors, everything. The app, please note that it will remain active for several months after the event. It can be used from your smartphone, tablet, as I showed you. So if you have not downloaded yet, I encourage you to do so. And there is even a QR code on page 12 of the booklet that will allow you to easily download it. Again, anything that you want to see about the app, go on page 12 of the booklet and you will get the information. For another networking opportunity, we have organized a special evening on Thursday evening from 8:30 in the evening at the Palace of Culture and Science, the city's most visible landmark, commissioned by none other than Stalin and completed in 3 years by 5,000 workers. You cannot miss it. It is the big building with the tower clock right next to our hotel. All of the presentations will be online shortly after the event. I repeat it once again. You will all receive a link next week to view and download all the presentations, so please don't ask EENA staff for them. And of course, they will be free to download. Finally, I would like to invite you to attend the 112 Awards ceremony this evening in the Grand Ballroom on the second floor at 7 p.m. and to join in the celebrations to reward and recognize outstanding achievements by our emergency services and our citizens. The event is always one of my personal highlights of the conference, and I hope you too can come along and make it even more special. Unfortunately for all of you, I will be the Master of Ceremonies along with my dear colleague and Vice Chair Dieter Nussler. So you have to see me a bit more. I want to leave you with some words from the late Nelson Mandela. He said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." So for the next 3 days, let's challenge ourselves to try and make that difference so that others may benefit. After all, this is what we do every day during our work, make a difference. And so, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, dear friends, I want to wish you a pleasant stay in Warsaw and to have a very successful conference. I also want to wish our nominees the very best of luck this evening at the 112 Awards ceremony. We hope that as many of you can attend in order to honor them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to declare the EENA Conference of 2014 officially open. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman. Let's see.
Thank you to the Governor for being here with us. And we start with a very interesting person. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple of months ago, and I'm really honored to introduce to you Mr. Ture Bekkedal. I was worried. I said Ture Bekkedal, and I couldn't see him. Hi, Ture.
Hi. Where do I go? Yeah.
For those of you that Ture Bekkedal is not a familiar name, he's a survivor of the 2011 massacre at the Labour Youth Summer Camp at Utoya, Norway. So I would like to have a conversation with Ture about what his experiences are. And let me immediately start this. So, Ture, would you like to give us a bit of a background? What were the circumstances? What were you doing there? What was the atmosphere? The background, please.
Well, as you said, the Labour Youth has a very traditional annual summer camp that goes back to the 1950s. It's been said that it's one of the most important political workshops in the country because the Labour Youth has a stronger than what is normal engagement in the Labour Party itself, representation. So it was a fairly natural target for, not a natural target, but it was a target for a right-wing extremist terrorist.
Okay, before we go to that, so how many people were there?
About between 500 or 600.
500 or 600 people, and they were in different meetings, they were networking.
Yeah.
So on that particular day, what was the arrangement? What was happening?
The talk was actually very good. It was from the former Prime Minister Gro Harlem Brundtland. She's a very popular figure, and it was interesting because to hear her reminisce about when she was on Utoya in the 60s and 70s, listening to the political figures from the past when she was young, and reminiscing about all this. So it was an incredible, track of sessions.
Okay, and now please share with us the bank, if you like.
Yes. Well, it actually does start with the bang because the first experience, I was doing some photography for the Labour Youth, uploading some of my pictures to the website and so on. And so we were sitting in this kind of group room, and then someone said, there's a bunch of talk on Twitter about a big explosion in Oslo. And so, we start, everyone starts refreshing the web news and so on, and we start to find that, yes, there's been a very big explosion in Oslo. And in not too much time, it starts to transpire that this is actually the government quarters that's been the target. So you have this big information meeting in the main hall to explain that, to give people information, to explain that the sessions will be postponed until we are able to get more facts and so on, and that if anyone wanted to return, they could do it, standard information stuff. And so I was going to set up a TV projector so that people could follow the TV news. And while I was waiting for the network password after this information session, I went to the bathroom, and that's when I started hearing the bangs. And, I've never heard a pistol with a silencer before. They don't sound like in the movies, certainly. So I just assumed that someone was making a prank in very poor taste, assuming that someone was sounding off a toy gun to startle people and so on. So I, go out of the bathroom stall, and I see a kid there lying in a pool of blood, and I realize that this gun is not a toy. So I go back and try to think clearly, and About 2 minutes later, I tried to escape I realized the bathroom stall door is very thin and so on. And just as I was trying to leave, some people from the cafe volunteers, they were running the other way, and they showed me this staff bathroom, which was very well hidden away. I'd never seen it before, and I've been there 5 or 6 times. And so that's where we hid for 19 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with us painful moments. And I don't want to dwell on the details of that. I would like to go to the general picture and discuss about emergency services response. Did you dial an emergency number?
Yes, that's pretty much the first thing we did.
You did it yourself?
Yes.
Okay. And you dialed
112.
112?
Of course, yes. At first, at the beginning of the situation, this is a very rural area, by the way. It's a very small, like summer cottage kind of place. So it's not the mobile cell is not dimensioned for a lot of traffic. So at the beginning, it was impossible to even get through to on the mobile network at all. Eventually, I got through to 112, but with every call to 112 to the emergency services in Norway, you get this little recording that says you're now being redirected to the emergency services. And that would play, and then it would go straight to busy tone. And this was the case for the entire 90 minutes. We called it almost constantly throughout those 90 minutes. I also tried so in Norway we have a 3 emergency number system. We have 110, which is health, ambulance, and 112, which is the police, and then 113 is the fire department. So I constantly tried 110, straight to busy tone, and I tried 113, and eventually I did get through on 113, probably because nobody else was thinking to call the fire department, just to get some kind of message that at least the emergency services were aware that this was happening, and at least I could get that message through, and also get the message through that there were severely wounded people. There were 2 severely wounded people just outside where we were hiding, but by the time the police arrived, they both had died.
Okay, so that took 90 minutes.
Yes.
To get in touch with the fire service at the end, and they told you that they were aware of the situation, or they told you what?
They couldn't give me any more information because they're quite separate from the police, especially in this area, as far as I understood. But they could at least inform me that people were aware of the situation, and it's the same. Of course, later we discovered that the police emergency call was being taken by a single individual with no system for overflow at all. So,
okay, Ture, thank you very much. I don't want to ask any more questions because I want the audience to ask questions. Here we are at a 112 conference, and we hear a story where somebody with people dead right next to him is trying to call emergency services and does not get through for 90 minutes. And I think this is what it's all about. I think this is what we're here for. So I don't want to ask any more questions. I would like to invite, if there are questions from the audience, for Ture to ask.
I would be happy to answer anything.
Yes, please.
Can I ask, how do you feel that Norway as a whole has responded to what happened then, yes? And how do you feel that Norway as a whole has responded to the event, and how have they reacted organisationally, so to speak, from the point of view of you as a survivor?
Wow, politically that's a very big question. If that's, it's a very complicated situation because Norway it's very difficult for Norway to deal with something like this on a normal political scale, because Breivik was uncomfortably close to a very well-established xenophobic right-wing party that's very well established in Norway, and they're in fact a part of the government. So it's very difficult for Norway to deal about that politically, but I'm guessing what you meant was on the police level?
I meant in terms of how the emergency services responded.
Okay. Yes.
The difficulty of access.
Yes. Well, see, so the criticism of the emergency services response has been justifiably brutal. There was a complete communications breakdown, not only between the people on the island and the emergency response units, but also internally in the police. And it ended up with a situation where there was a massacre ongoing with innocent children being murdered, while on the other side of the tiny little fjord, policemen were waiting. They had boats, but they were waiting for the SWAT team, essentially, to arrive. And there's been all kinds of criticism about this and so on. But in terms of the debate has been very non-specific. Like when EENA, first of all, I want to, of course, thank you for inviting me to this conference, which is making a very good effort in a very, very pressing problem. But the debate has been very generic, and it hasn't been very intelligent in terms of picking out individual things that failed, as, for instance, the 112 number. It's been a very general kind of criticism, not of all the emergency service, by the way. The ambulance and the health services have been very, very well regarded for how they handled this, but it was mostly the police, and this was mostly a result of their failure to communicate both internally and with the people they were trying to save. So there's been a very, very strong criticism about that, and a lot of things are changing on a lot of fronts. But in terms of the 112 number, how the emergency response centers are organized, I'm not an authority on that, but I have heard that they are going for a very distributed model, even in their new generation of emergency response, which strikes me as strange.
Thank you. Yes, please.
My name is Hans Broeren from the Dutch police force.
The microphone is coming.
Thank you very much. My name is Hans Broeren, Dutch Police Force. First, I want to thank you for sharing your impressive story with us. I got a question about social media. Were there any emergency calls done by social media, like Twitter and so?
Yes, there were a lot of us just, I mean, in that situation, you don't take a break to update Twitter. But when you're faced with no other means of getting through, then that is what you do. I mean, when you're hiding, you don't have too much else to do. So I did update Facebook and let everyone know that for now I'm safe, and so on. But no, I don't think there was any conscious use of Twitter to communicate directly to emergency services, but certainly to other people, because this was in the national news, and people wanted to know who had survived and who hadn't, really.
What I have to share with you about Ture is this tech guy that would update his Facebook and Twitter page in the middle of the crisis that he's alive, and then he will be using expired black and white film to take pictures, because that's what he likes, and develop them by himself, as well as using old computer punching cards to keep his notes. So he's a unique individual, and I'm happy that he's here. Any more questions? Yes. Give us 1 minute. A beautiful lady is bringing you the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Mieczysław Starkowski. I'm Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the civil defense review here in Poland. Well, saying the truth, I don't really understand. How is it possible that you couldn't connect with the 112 number for 1.5 hours? If I understand you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
you said 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
It's
Well,
unbelievable.
I never got through.
I can't really understand.
No,
it.
I never did get through, but
Thank
I
you.
tried for 90 minutes. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
The situation was, this happens in a very rural area. It's a very low population density. I don't know how many thousand people live there. I think there are 3,000 in that borough, but there's a larger police district around it. And the phone exchange was manned by a single person, which is the case for most of the Norwegian police or emergency response telephone systems. And so, of course, when 600 people in the same district have an emergency at the same time, that one person is not going to get through to most of those people. And that's how it happened. It was impossible for a single person to manage the volume of the calls, and it was impossible, for some reason apparently, to redirect the phone call to a neighboring dispatch center, because even if they were unable to communicate with the police forces, which would bring them in the same situation as the police forces, then they could have at least given advice on updates on the situation and so on for us who were there, which would have been an incredibly important asset, especially in terms of, for instance, administering first aid to the people who were wounded. We didn't know whether it was safe to go out, but when Breivik had been apprehended, then maybe the police would have been able to tell us that it was fairly safe to, these kinds of questions.
Interesting challenges. As you hear, the message was passed through, but when 600 people want to reach the same number and there is no redirection plan, then you get a bottleneck, clearly. But that bottleneck is providing a difficulty to the emergency services as well, because each of these 600 individuals might have some vital information to pass to the police that was not passed to the police. Clearly they knew about the event, but they didn't know about particulars that might be very, very important. And I'm sure during the next days we will be hearing more about the challenges and the solutions to a problem like that. Any other questions?
Yes?
Yes, please. Right at the back.
Thank you. Pim Zuiderveld from the Netherlands. In what sense do you think might it have been different if it would have happened in other country?
I was invited by EENA to speak at the February 11th in Europe, in the European Parliament, to address this in a European context. And this was my first kind of inkling that this is not only a national problem. Unfortunately, it seems that Norway is more the rule than the exception, in that there is no coordinated emergency dispatch system that could deal with something like this. But for instance, in Sweden, as I understand, there would have been overflow, as I believe it would have been in Finland. I'm not up on the different countries, but it's very interesting to see the progress that's being made, and it's very gratifying to see that EENA is able to act like a catalyst in these developments. It would be too speculative, I think, to be able to say, this country and that country would have not been able to do it. It's more a matter of what kind of solution you're using for the emergency dispatch. And if the country is using a solution that doesn't allow overflow, then it would have been handled better. If there is a more modern system, then it would be handled better. That's as best as answer as I can give.
Yeah, okay, but sure, even with overflow and the progressing of all data, it's fairly difficult, I'd say, for every country to handle this situation.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it is kind of interesting in probably for an emergency response in an emergency response context, is that it's kind of the worst case scenario in almost every regard. So it's a very extreme example. Maybe that's why I'm interesting to have here to speak about this extreme example, because you can kind of see how everything failed in this torture test. And then you have to work your way back to, okay, this is an extreme event. Yes, of course, an extremely extreme event. But they happen. Rarely, fortunately, but they happen. And when they happen, it's up to the emergency services to deal as best as possible with them. Yeah, I hope that kind of answered the question.
Thank you. Clearly, we're not trying to put a blame here on anybody. We're trying to share experience and draw conclusions and inspiration, if you like, from an extreme event that would challenge any country. Let me be clear on that. But it is a very powerful testimony. I'm sure you agree with me. And here, Ture sharing with us this powerful testimony on his experience of calling the emergency services on that fateful day is a unique privilege. And I would like to thank Ture for that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.